So when we talk about happiness, there's several elements that I think are important for us to stress, especially as you try to develop as much of a sense of happiness as you can during this COVID quarantine situation. And when we talk about happiness, I think one of the pieces that's really important to think about, is that it encompasses a number of different pieces. It encompasses a number of different factors. So what's happiness when we think about it? It can be defined as a mood. So you're just kind of a general overall state that's maybe not tied to anything specific, but you just feel kind of happy. Things are positive. It's an attitude. Again, we know attitudes guide our behavior. It's a beliefs that we have. So you could say an attitude then predicts your behavior. We know this from the feel good, do good phenomenon. If you're feeling positive, you're happy, you're likely to do things that are helpful for others. It's a social phenomenon in the fact that you can share happiness. So you want to be around those that are happy and positive. And so that's something that everyone can share. It's a cognitive filter in terms of it changes your cognitions. So the happier you are, the more likely you are then to think positively, to take on challenges, okay, to see the best in the situation. And ultimately, too, I think happiness is really a way to stay hopeful, motivated, and connected with others. So the extent that you're staying happy gives you a chance to be more hopeful, to take on challenges, to see that things are going to work out well, to stay motivated, to stay with something, stay with challenges. And I think that happiness then starts to filter back into the social phenomenon of making it that you can stay more connected with others. So we won't hold this slide up here too long, because really the punchline is that happiness encompasses a number of different aspects. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're evaluating and supporting your happiness level, making sure that you're finding this happiness even in difficult situations, because it's going to influence the way that you think about the environment around you. It's going to influence the choices that you make. It's going to influence then your ability to connect with others, which produces greater levels of happiness. Now, with this being said, happiness involves lots of different components of your day. It's a big component of how we function. But we also have to be mindful, too, that when we talk about happiness, it's not something that always is present and always there. But rather, we see that happiness itself has its ups and downs. And I think both of these graphs are really interesting to stop and think about. We see that the levels of happiness, as well as other emotions, can vary over the course of a week, and even over the course of the day. So if you have different times over the course of the day where you're not happy, something's not going well, this is part of what happens. So I always thought this was really interesting, this graph up here looking at happiness over the course of the week. We see that there really is something to Mondays. Okay? We see that Mondays are perceived as more negative, and as we move closer to the weekend, we'll feel more positive. Okay, so our happiness levels go up. Part of the reason why I actually like teaching on Thursday is that I do notice that students are happier on Thursday. I notice that a bit about myself as well. We see that we get into Friday and Saturday, that's where we're at happiest levels. And part of this may be due to a level of autonomy, our ability to make choices as to what we want to do, how we schedule our time. Monday through Wednesday, good portion of Thursday, that's a very high academic time for you guys. And so you have really kind of structured time versus over the weekend, maybe you're still working, things like that, but you have a little more choice of what you're doing. And again, we see this over the course of the day. We see that negative emotions stay relatively low and stable throughout the day, up until the point when you've kind of been up for a long period of time. At that point, maybe the stressors have built up over the course of the day, you start to get exhausted or tired. And so we see that that's where it starts to match up, where then that positive emotion's gone down, the happiness level's gone down. Okay, so your happiness level is going to increase over the course of the day. It might be something that you're a little bit more of a morning person, and your circadian rhythms cause you to be kind of happier at the beginning of the day compared to the end. But we still see, though, that over the course of the day, that we kind of have this overall positive happiness that doesn't start to diminish till towards the end of the day. But again, it's going to fluctuate throughout the day. Okay, so keep that in mind. Happiness levels are not always consistent. You may be more happy 1 minute compared to the next, or you may have kind of just a difficult day, especially during our current time. And, it's a stressor for you, and it's kind of a down day, but that day may not last, especially if you do some things to kind of maintain and be aware of your happiness level. So given that happiness is an important construct, is an important piece of who we are, understand that happiness goes up and down, we can start thinking about, well, how do we generate happiness? And one thought behind this is that if you had money, you could buy happiness. Okay, so money seems to buy happiness only in limited cases, though. Okay, so it only buys happiness when people who are in extreme poverty. And the way that researchers found this is they took the average level of income, of course adjusted for inflation and other factors, and purchasing power in the United States, and realized that that income, that purchasing power, has increased. Now, if it were the case that that purchasing power is related to happiness, we'd see a positive correlation, right? As income goes up, your happiness level would go up. So we'll go all the way back to methods from, what, day 3 or 4. But what they find, though, is that the percent of people feeling very happy, though, has not changed, not followed that trend and improvement. So happiness levels have stayed consistent, even though our ability to buy more things, the ability to have these resources, hasn't changed. And again, this is really predicated on kind of individuals who have resources. But what we see is, as Kanye West says in one of his songs, so somehow we managed to get Kanye West in just at the right time, is he says, having money is not everything, not having it is. And that's what he's really highlighting, whether he knows it or not, is this idea that when you don't have money, it is stressful and you don't have that level of happiness. But when you do have it, it's not everything. It's not going to make you happier. It's only when you're missing that money, when you're in that state of poverty, that happiness increases, because now you gain resources to help take care of yourself and move yourself away from stressors. So you might say, well, hey, why is it the case that even though I can purchase better things, I'm more secure financially because I have greater buying power, that I'm not happier? And this comes back to an important point that I want to make sure that we talk about, which is what we call the adaptive level phenomenon. So the idea here is when we step into sunshine, it seems very bright at first, but then we adjust to it, right? That bright sensation is only temporary. And what this addresses through our kind of example here is this adaptation level phenomenon. So when our wealth or other life conditions improve, we are happy compared to past conditions. Okay, so we do feel an improvement. However, the adaptation level here starts to kick in. However, then we adapt to a new normal level. So now we have to get a boost from others to feel that same satisfaction or other situations. So the idea here is that you might buy something with that new wealth that you have. It might make you happier compared to if you didn't have that item. However, we start to get used to that new normal level. And so now we have to go buy something else or do something else to then cause us to feel that same satisfaction. The idea is that we adapt to the things that we have around us. So I noticed this when I bought a new car a little over a year ago, 1.5 years ago. And I remember when I was buying the car that I thought about this. I thought, well, do I need to get all these bells and whistles on this car? Do I need to get leather package and the sunroof and the sports package and stuff like that? And I thought, that would make me happier for a little bit longer, okay, when I buy this new car. But then I would just kind of get used to it. That I really wouldn't even think about, the nice leather seats and things like that. And so I thought, well, hey, maybe I need to treat this just as what it is, which is a vehicle that gets me from point A to point B. And so that's how I chose my car. But I did notice that when I got the car and was driving it, I did enjoy it. It was a new level of kind of happiness compared to the really old car I was driving. But then I got used to it. Okay, so then I started to, just kind of treat it as a car. It didn't cause me to have that same satisfaction as when I first bought it. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're purchasing things, that it's not going to lead towards long-term happiness. It might lead you towards a little bit of happiness compared to the past condition. I was happier to be driving around in a car that was newer and I felt more secure in, but it wasn't something that caused me to then be happy for my lifetime. And so where I want to leave us at, keeping in mind this adaptation levels, is there are ways to genuinely increase your happiness. And these are kind of changes that we can make that will stay with us. The first, and hopefully you kind of capture this through the point we're just making, is look beyond wealth for satisfaction. So having lots of money, spending money on yourself actually doesn't produce satisfaction. It doesn't increase happiness, but rather actually spending money on others does, or on shared experiences or memories, actually does improve happiness levels. So something to keep in mind is that, especially as you're thinking about career choices and things like that, gaining lots of wealth isn't necessarily going to make you happier. And how you spend that wealth, how you think about those around you and the resources you have does make a difference. We see too that you want to bring your habits in line with your goals and take control of your time. So part of this is something that's really important for us going through our quarantine right now, is to make sure that the habits, the things that we're doing, are in line with what makes us happy. Okay, so to take control of the things around us as best we can, understand we can't control everything, but take control of our time, our actions, so that they can be in line with things that make us happy. Okay, so I actually did a little bit of a brief interview with one of the admissions counselors yesterday. I said, well, what suggestions do you have for students to deal with stress? And one of the things I suggested is, take a habit that you enjoy, such as running, working out, music, watching movies, things like that, and make sure that you continue to do that, essentially kind of taking control of that piece of your life. We see too that happiness can be generated just as simply as smiling and acting happy. We know this from the facial feedback hypothesis. When you guys bit down on a pencil and formed your mouth in a smiling shape, you felt more positive. Kind of swinging your arms caused you to feel more positive as well. That can kind of pick you up. Okay, so if you're having a tough time at home, smile, put on clothes that make you a little more happy. Kind of just act happy. Kind of this idea of fake it till you make it. That will cause you to start feeling greater happiness. Find work and leisure that engages your skills. It's this idea again that things that make you feel positive, make you feel valued. I can't stress enough, especially someone who didn't exercise for quite some time has gotten back into it. Exercise and movement is a huge piece towards being happy. You get natural endorphins from the exercise. It allows you to process and think about things. It improves your overall health to begin with. So this is another key piece of happiness, as well as making sure you're focusing on needs and wishes of others. So again, spending money on yourself doesn't produce nearly as much of a benefit compared to thinking about others, considering others, being empathetic for others, supporting others. You get so much more positive response and such greater happiness from that. I think this next point is especially important, that happiness comes from working, from being satisfied with the work that you're doing, investing in the work that you're doing. It also comes from rest, so giving yourself some downtime. So I've noticed that I haven't done that well lately, and I made a point the last couple of days, especially evenings before class, of resting. And sleep becomes incredibly important. We know that sleep helps rebuild the body. We know it allows us to condense information, allows us to process information as well. And so sleep becomes a big piece of happiness. I'm sure you guys all can identify those times where we weren't getting enough sleep, starting to get kind of grouchy. Another piece here is noticing what goes well and expressing gratitude for it. So even in really tough times, there are pieces that are going well. Maybe with your family, it's nice to be back with them. Okay? Or maybe you've taken on a new hobby, or maybe you decided to do something you didn't normally do now that you aren't spending so much time with friends as you might be. Express the gratitude for that. Or when you connect with someone you haven't talked to in a while, express that gratitude, enjoy it. So appreciate the things that are around you. You also want to, as our second to last suggestion, nurture spirituality, meaning and community. Be part of a larger something that allows you to connect with others, derive a positive identity from that. And so allows you to kind of nurture who you are. And I think the last one here is probably the most important, is make sure you have a close relationship with others and make that a priority. We derive so much benefit from being around others, supporting others, both in terms of what they do for us, what we do for them. And so having these strong social connections, we know is important for being able to thrive. And so with this all being said, I want to say use these suggestions. Keep in mind what's going on, that happiness levels do adapt to situations, that there's ways of kind of increasing this happiness level, to be mindful of these things as you're finishing up finals, you're finishing up this semester. And I want to say, too, kind of extending this and talking about things on more of a personal note, you guys are rock stars. I appreciate you being here, sticking with class, continuing to get things done. I know that you're managing all these different stressors, trying to take care of yourselves as you're going through this. And I appreciate you, continuing to keep pushing things along. As you move forward, keep in mind that hopefully the COVID experience isn't one that lasts for very long. It's kind of a blip in your academic career. But keep taking those classes, keep doing well with those classes, because doing that sets you up for a lifetime of success. And quite frankly, while it's a really difficult experience to go through, you guys are developing a unique skill set to be able to take on adversity. And that's what happens through your life, both personally and at work. So you guys are developing the skill set just kind of on the fly, and kind of a unique experience you have here. But with that all being said, I'm here to help you guys out as you wrap up the class, as you take care of the last things that we need to. If you have questions, let me know, things that you want to check through with me. Otherwise, make sure you're taking care of yourselves as you wrap up classes, and even as we get into the summertime. If there's anything I can do to help you guys, whether it be class related, checking in with me later on, if things are kind of going a little bit rough for you, please just let me know. I'm very happy to help. So let me pause one last time to see if there's any general questions, things I can help with. Otherwise, we'll officially sign off. Okay, and if you're all good, send a quick message through chat. Let me know that you're all set.
So I think my computer is working again.
Okay.
Yay. Negative symptoms of schizophrenia, lack of ?
Yeah, so it's lack of positive, healthy behaviors.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so the idea is that someone that's sitting there in the same position in a catatonic way, that's not healthy behaviors. They should be moving about, just as you're seeing on the screen here, exercising, moving, connecting with others. That person is not doing that. So it's an absence of healthy behavior. All right, glad we got back to that question. Anything else for you guys? All right, guys, I appreciate it. Good luck on finals. Keep pushing through things. I appreciate everything, and I will talk to you guys later. If you need anything, please just let me know. Okay, I'll hang around after class a little bit in case you need to connect with me on something. Otherwise, take care.